Hello everybody and welcome to a very special Gamescom studio edition of Biggest Game Releases, the show where we run down what's coming out for PC, consoles, and beyond in any given month. As tempting as it was to run down all the video games that came out already in November 2001, we figured it might be more relevant to talk about next month instead. So here are September 2025's biggest game releases. Before we get into it, just a friendly reminder that we all work really hard to make these videos as informative, accurate, and up-to-date as possible, but video game release dates change constantly, whether that means a very last-minute delay, a surprise announcement, or something in between. And it is extremely possible, if not likely, that some new information falls through the cracks in this video. Also, this is a series made by actual human beings, and unlike cold, unthinking, infallible machines that think glue goes on pizza and the word Oreo is a palindrome, sometimes we screw up, so apologies if that happens. We're sorry. Please be kind, and for best results, always check your local listings. Now let's talk about some video games. On September 3rd, there's Hirogami on PC and PS5, a 3D platformer set in a world inspired by origami, the Japanese art of folding paper, and potentially kirigami, which is the art of folding and cutting paper. If you prefer something a little heavier than paper and scissors, you can rock out in the metal-looking Jotunnslayer Hordes of Hell, which is a roguelite horde survival game rooted in Norse mythology. That's on PC, PS5, Xbox Series, and PC. I already said PC. Hey, remember how I said sometimes video game release dates come out of nowhere? Well, we got a doozy over here. Hollow Knight's long-awaited sequel, Silksong, finally got a release date in the middle of Gamescom. You probably heard about it already. September 4th, it's coming to basically everything. Happy birthday, Silksong fans. Or just happy September 4th, I guess. On the 4th, those very same platforms get the standard edition of Hell Is Us. The deluxe edition gives early access starting on the 1st, but for everybody else, it's the 4th. For me, Hell is staggered release dates. But in any case, this game has hints of Death Stranding and FromSoft, but it's also taking some inspiration from Jeff Vandermeer's Southern Reach trilogy, the very good sci-fi novels that were loosely adapted into the also very good but very different film Annihilation, so hopefully this game is also very good. September 4th also sees the release of Indiana Jones and the Great Circle's first DLC expansion, The Order of the Giants. This is coming to all platforms the game is already out on, which sadly does not yet include the Nintendo Switch 2, but if you're a Nintendo Switch 2 owner itching for a game that starts with the Lucasfilm logo and has John Williams-esque orchestral stabs throughout, Star Wars Outlaws gets a port that day, which adds a few exclusive features to the new Nintendo hybrid, like touchscreen minigames, and both the Outlaws DLC expansions will be available for that one day one. If you're more into Studio Ghibli than Lucasfilm, take a gander at Kejora, which hits PC that day. This hand-drawn puzzle platformer follows a trio of friends who realize their village is stuck in a time loop. If you'd rather be in a time loop in a more roguelite sense, and also in outer space, you've got options. The co-op roguelite shooter Void Crew, which is already on PC, comes to Xbox Series and PS5. Meanwhile, PC players can get Moros Protocol, a crunchy pixelated roguelite boomer shooter. If you want to shoot cel-shaded stuff instead, I got you. There's also Jetrunner, a parkour-infused FPS that describes itself as a cross between Titanfall and Trackmania. If you would sooner get slapped upside the head than play a roguelite or an FPS, well, strap on your MetaQuest and check out the story-driven VR fighting game Slap Fighter, which sounds pretty self-explanatory. If you want to rage against the machine in a game whose title incorporates the title of a James Cameron movie as well as the name of a discontinued, youth-oriented Toyota-owned auto brand, well, Daemon Ex Machina Titanic Scion is probably for you, I think. The sequel to the 2019 mech action game, which is coming to Switch 2, Xbox Series, PS5, and PC. If you want something with slick anime aesthetics that's a little more cerebral, there's also Shuten Order, which blends puzzle, dating sim, survival horror, and escape room mechanics and themes into something that looks pretty out there, which is to be expected since it's from the creator of Danganronpa. That's on PC and Switch. If you'd rather be shooting some three-pointers, there's also NBA 2K26 that day as well on everything, though people who pre-ordered the premium editions that include early access will have been playing this game since last month. If you're repulsed by the idea of a sport where one must propel a large ball a short distance into a vessel it's going to fall out of, and you'd prefer to play a game about propelling a very small ball large distances into a vessel where it'll probably stay put, well, that's oddly specific, but you're probably going to enjoy Everybody's Golf Hot Shots. This is the first new installment in the casual, cartoony golf series in 8 years, and while it's historically been PlayStation exclusive, this new one is coming to PC and Switch as well. Golf! September 5th also sees the latest from Team Bloober, Chronos New Dawn, a survival horror steeped in retro-futurism and brutalist aesthetics. In this one, if you don't get rid of the gross, scary monsters properly, they merge together into even grosser, scarier monsters that are even harder to get rid of, which sounds to me like a combination of two of the creepiest concepts to ever grace the survival horror genre. The Crimson Head zombies in the original Resident Evil, which you had to burn to get rid of, and the Rat King in The Last of Us Part 2, which was a bunch of gross monsters glued together. That's on PS5, Xbox Series, Switch 2, and PC. If you would like to play a game about things with tentacles that will not give you bad dreams at night, you might be better off with Operation Octo, which is a cute tower defense game about cartoon cephalopods, and it's on PC.
If you love lasagna, hate Mondays, and live your life 1/4 mile at a time, well, buckle up because Garfield Kart 2, All You Can Drift, hits consoles and PC on September 10th.
And it features a flabbergasting roster of 8 iconic characters, including Garfield, Odie, Nermal, John Arbuckle, Arlene, Squeak the Mouse, Dr. Liz Wilson, and Big Vicious Dog. And by including, I mean that's all of them.
On September 12th, Borderlands 4 hits Xbox Series, PS5, and PC, and it seems to be tackling a number of the issues that fans had with Borderlands 3 and its subsequent spin-offs.
Namely, pumping the brakes on the goofs and gags while also tweaking, streamlining, and/or refining the loot system menus and co-op. That'll be hitting Nintendo Switch 2 on October 3rd as well.
Roman Sans Rebuild sounds like a cousin of Roman Reigns, or perhaps a historical RTS, but it is, in fact, an adventure, gacha, puzzle, apocalypse, visual novel, simulation, horror trip, according to the official description.
That involves working at a luxury resort, but also a post-apocalyptic wasteland. I'm not sure how those two intersect, but from what I've gathered, it already came out, sort of, and then it got unreleased. But then it was planned for release in 2023, and then again in 2024, but supposedly it's actually out September 12th, 2025 for Switch and PC, with other console versions arriving at some point, I guess? If you need something a little easier pieced together than that release strategy, LEGO Voyagers drops on the 15th, which is a 2-player co-op adventure a bit like Hazelight's games A Way Out, or It Takes Two, or Split Fiction, except instead of playing as prison inmates, dolls with marital problems, or struggling authors, you are a couple of cute little LEGO bricks. That's on basically everything but Xbox One. If you want a game that involves building stuff out of natural resources instead of modular Danish construction toys, there is Voyagers of Nera, the co-op survival game set in a gorgeous ocean world, which is also an open world, and vice versa, I believe. That hits PC on the 16th. On the 18th, Emotionless, The Last Ticket, hits PC, which is a liminal cosmic horror game set in an abandoned theme park where people throw ducks at balloons and nothing is as it seems.
Okay, the ducks and the balloons thing is really more of a Simpsons reference, but all the rest, it certainly seems like it's nothing as it seems.
If you want to go on a horrifying nightmare adventure but also bring some friends along for emotional support, Labyrinthine Console Edition arrives that same day on PS5 and Xbox Series, and it's already on PC, and now it's getting cross-platform co-op for up to 8 players.
Usually when we talk about classes in video games, it means like jobs for wizards and knights and stuff, and not the kind of classes you take in a classroom. But what if it was both?
Class of Heroes 3 Remastered is a school-centric dungeon-crawling RPG originally released for the PSP that is now getting polished up and coming to PS5, Switch, and PC. Still that day is My Child of Ages, a Zelda-like from the studio that brought us the first-person puzzle game Suicide Guy, which was later renamed Sleepin' Guy for reasons that shouldn't be too hard to figure out. My Child of Ages is coming to PC on the 18th, Switch on the 25th, and basically everything else at some point in the future. They should do a prequel called My Wife of Seasons. Finally, that day also sees Frostpunk 2 finally hitting Xbox Series and PS5, which promises to be a good time for anyone who's looking to have a bad time managing a struggling community in a bleak post-apocalyptic ice age.
If you're a fan of roguelites and you've ever wanted to guard a sacred tree, well, great news, because on the 19th there is Towa and the Guardians of the Sacred Tree, which also has that guy in it.
Which is a roguelite that presumably also entails some arboreal enforcement. That means guarding a tree, I think. That's on PS5, Xbox Series, Switch, and PC. Still that day on Switch and PC and PS5 is Trails in the Sky First Chapter. This is, in fact, a remake of the first game, ergo first chapter in the long-running Trails series, so if you're looking for a good jumping-on point, this could be for you. And if you've been playing since day one and don't remember everything that happened in a game from 21 years ago, this could also be for you. All of these games could be for anybody if you think about it.
If you want to brutally murder a bunch of dead stuff that's not entirely dead and do some parkour while you're at it, well, great news, because Dying Light: The Beast is also out this month.
which is one of those games that started off as DLC before spinning off into a whole thing of its own. And hey, that's how we got Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom. But on the other hand, it's also how we got Saints Row: Gat Out of Hell. Hopefully this goes more like the former than the latter, but we'll have to wait and see. On the 23rd, you can explore the world of gelatinous agriculture in Slime Rancher 2 on PS5, Xbox Series, and PC, or the world of electrophysical puzzle solving in House of Tesla on PC.
Some people will try to tell you that denial is not a river in Egypt, but those people are lying to themselves.
If you'd like to uncover the truth of some literal pyramid schemes, Agatha Christie Death on the Nile retells the classic whodunit in an adventure game form, but it sets it in the groovy 1970s. That's on PC, Switch, Xbox Series, and PS5. If you'd rather solve mysteries in the 1960s Japan while also getting the F word scared out of you, Silent Hill F arrives on the 25th as well. This is the first mainline entry in the beloved psychological horror series in 13 years, but it's also deviating from the mainline games by not actually taking place in the state of Maine. Curious to see how this one lands with longtime Silent Hill fans and curious newcomers alike. That's on Xbox Series, PS5, and PC. Still That Day is Consume Me, a semi-autobiographical indie life sim following a teenage girl who is struggling with an eating disorder and body image issues, which has a cute, colorful aesthetic, but something tells me it gets pretty dark. That's on PC and Mac.
When Sonic the Hedgehog says he's gotta go fast, don't worry, he's talking about increasing his velocity, not decreasing his chili dog intake.
Sonic Racing Crossworld sees the Blue Blur and his usual cohorts hitting the road with some detours by way of sea, air, and space, but with a roster that's gonna get pretty crowded post-launch. Some free DLC characters include Ichiban Kasuga from Like a Dragon, Joker from Persona 5, and Hatsune Miku from the discontinued 2013 Japanese Domino's Pizza app.
A live performance of Love for Night, produced by Domino's Crew. Here we go!
But wait, there's more. There's a ton of post-launch DLC planned with the season pass, including SpongeBob and Patrick, and also a bunch of critters from Minecraft.
So it seems like it could be a big ol' Super Smash Bros. Style crossover kart racer. Personally, I hope they add my top 8 favorite Garfield characters: Garfield, Odie, Nermal, John Arbuckle, Arlene, Squeak the Mouse, Dr. Liz Wilson, and Big Vicious Dog. On September 25th, the American football season will officially be underway, but if you roll your eyes at the idea of a football that won't actually roll because it is technically a prolate spheroid, you're in luck because EA Sports FC 26 is here to help you achieve your goals. You can play that basically everywhere, and if you get the Ultimate Edition, you can play it even more everywhere with early access that starts on the 19th. That time of year has come once again where I'm obligated to say the word atelier out loud, heralding another entry in Koei Tecmo's long-running RPG series. The latest installment, Atelier Resleriana, the Red Alchemist and the White Guardian. It's an all-new single-player RPG with new protagonists, a free-roam overworld, and multi-level dungeons. That's on PS4, PS5, Switch, and PC. If you want to play an overhauled version of a beloved RPG that came out in 1997 rather than the latest installment in a series that started then, the fan-favorite strategy spin-off Final Fantasy Tactics is getting a modern makeover with the Ivalice Chronicles. It's got full VO, cleaned up graphics, and a bunch of gameplay tweaks, and it's coming to everything except Xbox One. Sorry, Xbox One. And finally, if Alien Earth has your HR Giger counter going haywire and you want to blast some acid-blooded biomechanical perfect organisms with an M41A pulse rifle and or get your skull caved in by the steel-fanged inner jaw of one, well, me too. And luckily, Alien Rogue Incursion, last year's VR-exclusive shooter, is getting a non-VR Evolved Edition.
Bear in mind that is only part 1, so expect a cliffhanger after all the facehuggers and chest bursters. That's coming to PC and PS5 on September 30th.
And there you have it. Those are a whole bunch of games coming out in September 2025. Not all of them, but a whole bunch. If you want to stay 1,000% up to date, go grab the IGN Playlist app. You can track all the games you've ever played, all the games you've ever wanted to play, and even make weird playlists like the top 2 Garfield games featuring fan-favorite character Dr. Liz Wilson. If you're looking to score some games on the cheap, go check out what's going on at IGN's sister site, Humble. From now until September 5th, they are holding a summer sale. And if you missed that, rest assured there are always awesome deals going on there year-round with great bundles of games, books, comics, software, and more, which all raises money for charity. Head to humble.com to find out more. That about does it for this very special edition of this show we usually shoot from my stinky, gloomy home office, but we're lucky enough to do from the brightly lit Gamescom studio stage, so a huge thank you to all of the crew working behind the scenes, as well as Amanda Medina, Chris Del Padre, and Logan Plant for making it happen. And of course, the biggest thanks of all to everybody who watches these videos, especially if you take the time to leave nice, friendly comments instead of weird, mean, angry ones. So sound off with what you're playing this month, anything we might have missed, and of course, most importantly, your favorite game that was released in November 2001. Mine is Metal Gear Solid 2. I'll see you next month, everybody. Happy Gamescom.